Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let us begin this test by selecting three main elements from the teacher competence for the digital world that I consider to be of highest importance. These being, what does it mean? Enriched learning environment refers to the teacher's role related to students, which is to be coordinator of the student's environment that goes through communication with the same. That in the present is considerably more difficult to make in physical means. For that matter, the ICT tools exist to facilitate this communication in order to improve this environment. Digital pedagogical content. This area makes direct reference to the necessity for teachers being able to master the contents and concrete procedures of the subject that he or she is going to teach, being able to establish relationships with other two necessary elements. The knowledge about technology and the pedagogical knowledge as a way to reference general teaching expertise. Also, to connect them is in what is called technological pedagogical content knowledge, or TPACK. In reflective practice, and as its name suggests, is the very action of reflection from the teacher in order to question the environment around him, to stop for a moment and think about what he is doing, if he is doing it properly, the visible effect on his pupils, and other issues that may come to mind. Why this element is essential? In an enriched learning environment, staying in contact with the student's surroundings, knowing of its context and events gives us vital information about the student and why he or she is in one way or another, reacts in a manner or talks about certain topics, also to better know our pupils and make our work with them more efficient. In digital pedagogical content, we are talking about understanding these three domains that represent TPACK, and the justification to this is that the three kinds of knowledges are not able to properly develop themselves individually, but when together, then it is when they get to be effective. As a perfect combination of understanding the subject you are teaching, the way we teach our students, so that you adapt your contents into them and the technological situation to which adjust the last two. In reflective practice, above anything else, the teacher has to be able to recognize not only his surroundings, but also his own world from within, recognizing in detail what he does in every session, the methods, the results, the causes and the consequences, also that the teacher is more self-aware and effective, considerate and efficient. In an enriched learning environment, one very efficient way to know the student's environment is through personal classes, where assisting to the child's house gives the teacher an appropriate first glance at it, where the tools present are the very eyes and mind of the teacher, observation and analysis, in which case the set design is the home of the student, a social design will be the classification of information when observing the child's environment. A good tutoring session to meet the student's tutors also gives the chance to be introduced into the student's closest side, where once again the same tools are used by the teacher and the design don't really change except for the set design that may take place in other locations such as the student's classroom. A science lecture, where the teacher and pupils go to the laboratory with all these interesting tools to use, where the teacher has to understand how to use such tools and adapt the way of using them, along with the way of representing the content they will see in that day to the students. Altogether affecting the three main designs as the set design being the laboratory, the social design, the procedure in which the students organize themselves to performing the activity you are presenting, and its correspondent test design. Is that of a trip to the woods, where the teacher must understand how to use certain tools as well as knowing how to teach the students the contents while in a practical trip. In this case, we meet with the set design of nature, an even better place to learn than a four-wall box such as a class is. A social design being the instructions of how students will develop during the trip, and the task design seen as the method through which the students will proceed to learn during the trip, which can be done anywhere at any moment, whose best tool is the teacher's mind itself, knowledge, past experiences, and so on. However, there are many ways of reflecting, such as is commenting with a partner, making notes to reflect on later, thinking right in the action, and many other examples, in which tools are our own minds, as well as those around us. In these cases, the set design is basically everywhere. The social design is the way you consider your manner of instructing the children, and the epistemic design is referred to thinking about the methods used to implement the activities. In an enriched learning environment, we have WhatsApp groups dedicated for parents and mail directions, both to maintain communication with the student's family and contacts. In an enriched learning environment, we have WhatsApp groups dedicated for parents and mail directions, both to maintain communication with the student's family and contacts. In digital pedagogical content, in order to learn about this concept, I would use teacher-related blogs and exemplary videos from YouTube. In reflective practice, I would turn my attention to survey-directed websites, where participants are asked questions that make them think of what they do. Secondly, I would choose a journal-like app for making questions about oneself or what he's done during the day. Once this is done, let us head to the next section, exposing what I believe to be the most important 4 elements seen during this course. Generally speaking, within the TPACK framework, refers to that of possessing a set of knowledge mostly related to the current technological advancements that shape us as an intelligent race, way beyond that of computer literacy, and requiring most expertise on how those work as well as interacting with them, properly updated when connecting with the other elements of TPACK, these being content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. Samuel is preparing for a school test where he has to correct an old PowerPoint presentation with old images and dual plain texts. Thus, he has to know where to search for new, more fresh images and to investigate how PowerPoints work regarding text format and disposition of information. PLE, abbreviated from Personal Learning Environment, is in a way defined as the learning context that each person has in their different surroundings, that condition them into what they learn and what they understand from all things. Each person's personal learning environment is used as a scheme of tools and resources that give clues and facilitate the understanding of certain other things that each person wishes to learn. And as such, this personal learning environment is mostly related to technologies, that it has adopted such a vital role in the present to the point of making humans dependent on it in order to learn how to perform certain activities. Melinda's having problems with understanding certain concepts from Nietzsche, so her friends tell her of a number of digital tools that she can use to better understand his philosophy. These are a blog from Philosophy Teacher, a website that facilitates daily posts talking about philosophers and their work, and an app to search for philosophy books to read them without saying. Melinda is very happy about these because now she is able to understand Nietzsche's ideals, putting those resources to use in her own personal learning environment. ACAD corresponds with activity-centered analysis and design. That corresponds as a methodology that instead of TPACK that goes for the content of the activity, ACAD refers to the attention to the very context in which the situation is taking place, giving more care into the more situational perspectives as being also considerable variables while working. Being split in 3 different elements considered designs: set design referring to the physical context of the activity, task design as the method in which the activity is presented, and social design associated with how the participants of the activity recognize their tasks. A teacher performs an audiovisuals related activity in the class with her students. The teacher has to consider all the physical materials the students will be using, along with the proper disposition of the classroom, in order for it to be prepared for the students. To work on it, the methodology in which the teacher will present the activity to the students and how they will develop it, as well as how the students will split their work and divide themselves in groups. These 2 elements form one of the 3 possible connections within the TPACK framework that correspond with 2 of its 3 elements: content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. Content knowledge refers to the very understanding of the subject's elements, and pedagogical knowledge spells itself as comprehension of the teaching methodologies regarding the student's learning. These 2 combined form pedagogical content knowledge that states the necessity of teaching these 2 elements into consideration as a union instead of separately, as we need to apply what we know in regards to the subject along with what we know as teachers. Marco wants to teach his students about usual spelling mistakes when writing in English, which he believes he has much practice at. However, he also has to know how he is going to explain these concepts to his 12-year-old students in a way that they understand and don't make any mistakes, as well as other variables for their assessment when doing exercises, evaluation, practice, theory, and so on. Now then, let's be brief. Mark and 8 for the way I've adapted to this environment, this subject. Most important role has been that of facilitator, as it is the most important role, while the one I've been the most efficient in was analyst, I believe. The most challenging role was facilitator indeed, as I had to pay attention to everything, answer doubts, going over the work, and all that kind of stuff. When formally thinking about my PLE, I have found a couple of competent sites to support my development, these being the virtual area as well as another one called